Hey, unknown 21. Hey, Levi. Hey. Hey, the live stream will start in a few minutes. I'm just sorting out something on OBS quick. All right, I think we're good to go. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday and long weekends. Happy Easter to everyone who is celebrating. All right, cool. Let's actually jump in. So on my school community, we have these weekly challenges. So every Monday, I'll send a new challenge to the community, and it typically looks something like this. So I'll, give people a challenge like, build your own second brain, and we've actually had a few challenges in the past as well. But I thought I actually just wanted to build one of these challenges with the YouTube community as well, just to kind of share this with everyone. But I just want to show you guys typically what this looks like. So in the lab, we we have all of these different challenges, like building our own agent skills, or using UI design skills or platforms to improve business websites, or building our own AI assistant. So we do kind of throw a lot of challenges at the at the community, and the guys do seem to enjoy it. And to be honest, I enjoy it as well. It's a brilliant way to learn a new skill. Just by taking on a random challenge, something that might be totally outside of your wheelhouse, and just learn how it works. And obviously, with the community, you kind of have the added benefit of chatting to like-minded people, and you can pick their brains and share ideas. So basically, what the challenge was about is, I'll see if I can just move my camera out of the way. All right, let me try and improve the volume. Is this better? Is the volume any better now? Worthmind, is the audio any better? All right. All right, cool. Just let me know if I think I can bump it up slightly more, but not too much really. All right, thanks guys. All right, so these these AI second brains are really popular lately, and I think for anyone who's used something like OpenClaw or one of these assistants, you would have noticed that they brilliant. These AI assistants are really useful for just kind of sharing ideas with it or passing. Maybe you just wanted to recall certain information for you, like a useful link or a YouTube URL or a document or whatever else. So, they can be really useful, but, since Anthropic is really pushing back and especially they're really pushing hard against OpenClaw for more reasons than I think they're willing to really admit. So it might be a really good time to just kind of build your own little harness. Just build something that you can maintain yourself, and it should be a fun project as well. This is the best way to learn how to build with these tools. So I gave the community this challenge. We need to build an AI second brain that lets you save different content types. And this is really up to you. You can, it could just be simple text. It could be images. It could be, like I said, YouTube URLs, whatever you want, whatever you would find useful. Then we need to get our AI assistant to automatically tag and categorize these entries using AI, so you don't have to manually tag them. You could also search and recall memories using natural language. And we should be able to persist the data between different sessions. Now, I must tell you that the stuff the community came up with was stupidly impressive. It was far beyond what I thought people would do. They kind of built these crazy, second brain solutions that integrate into all sorts of platforms. So I'm not going to try and compete at that level. I think there are people in this community who really do take this stuff incredibly seriously, and they obviously trying to step up and push their own limits. So for this, we are going to keep it simple. We do want to really focus on the fundamentals of building these types of solutions without going absolutely bonkers. Right, so just a few guidelines that I kind of put aside. So for data persistence, you have different options. So if you're just starting out, you can just use a JSON file or a SQLite database to store the data locally. Or if you want to step things up, you can use SQLite with full text search. So instead of just doing very simple SQL queries to the database, you can, pass certain phrases, and full text search will use, some kind of semantic similarity search to find entries that might seem similar. Or if you want to really step it up, you can use something like a Postgres database with the PG vector extension, and you can use embeddings to really build a super impressive search database. Then there were a few stretch goals as well, like the ability to auto-summarize URLs when saving them. So basically, when you provide a URL, the assistant will sort of scrape the data and give you a brief summary of what the content is about. What did I save this week? This is just like, adding time-based filtering. So if you just said, hey, list all the memories that I asked you to save this week, or maybe filter based on certain tags. You can do that as well. You can definitely find related memories, perhaps using tags, or memories with similar sort of search terms. And you should be able to export your entire brain to Markdown. I'm not sure about you guys, but if you used something like OpenClaw recently and you're migrating off OpenClaw, it can be quite difficult to kind of get all that data out of the agent, right? You could ask your OpenClaw agent to just send you all of the Markdown files. That's definitely a way. So we do need the ability just to kind of export the brain in some sort of capacity. Hey, Ivan, sorry for the off topic. If you can make some kind of review on Claude Code repo leak. Yeah, that leak has been really interesting. I'm too scared to touch it. Um, Anthropic has really been going after content creators who cover it. So I'm really scared to really dive into it and to give my opinion at this stage. But there are creators like Theo T3 who's done a really good job at breaking it down. So I'm personally not going to mess around with with that code base, but it really is an interesting situation. So for our second brain, let's just discuss the basics. So in fact, let me just quickly go back to the format. So the actual user interface is up to the developer or the builder. You can build a CLI tool to interact with this agent, or you could build a web app. So you've got a bit of a user interface that you can work with. You've got a desktop app. So if you wanted to really take it to the next level, you could use something like Electron just to build an actual desktop app that you can spin up and interact with this tool. Or you could just build a really simple script. The format was really up to you. And maybe after you guys watch this video, try and take on this challenge yourself and see if you can build your own thing around this, or even take what I've built and just see if you can extend it and make it your own. So here's what I'm thinking for this live stream. Not to overcomplicate this and make it too long. What I'm going to do is go for a user interface. So I'm going to build a web app, and for the tech, I am going to use, Next.js to handle our front end and back end. Then let's just think about this. So I'm going to use Next.js for the web app. For the data persistence, I think what I'll do here actually is we basically have two options, right? So we can go with either Postgres, and I'm sure there are plenty of options out there, but we could go with Postgres, or one of the options is maybe, well, I'll just put in a little database icon here. And we'll call this one Postgres. And we'll call this one SQLite. Okay, so we do have two different options here. We'll make a decision in a second. This is something I do like to do when I build, or before I even dive into the code. This is what I like to do. I kind of like to sit down and just at a high level, just think what the tech stack could potentially look like. And then ask myself a few questions up front. After this, we will dive into planning mode with the agent to see if we've missed anything. Right then. So I think that will solve these two issues. For the AI inference, we've got so many different options here. One of the things I really like to use is the Vercel AI SDK. This makes it really easy to just plug your application into something like Open Router or directly with any LLM provider. You could even use Olama with this as well. So if you want to use open source local models. But I think in this case, and just because it's really topical right now, I'm actually going to use the Claude Agent SDK. Hey Marcus, we just started a few minutes ago. We're just kind of going through the requirements, and we're just having a look at the potential tech stack. So it's still early. We haven't built anything yet. Right. So for the AI inference, we'll use the Claude Agent SDK, and I'm going to use Opus 4.6. You can of course use Sonnet as well, it really doesn't matter. And the reason I'm using the Claude Agent SDK is I am actually going to use my Claude subscription with this. But of course, if you're worried, you can use the Anthropic API as well. But my understanding is if we use the Agent SDK, we can kind of build our own stuff on top of it. But if you are worried, just use the API. That's perfectly fine. All right, so that gives us our UI. It gives us a place to store the data, and we kind of have a solution for doing our agent inference. Now the question is, how can we get our agent to interact with the database? Of course, we don't want to tag stuff ourselves. We just kind of want to have a conversation with the agent, and it should be able to load data into the database. It should also be able to search and retrieve data as well. So now we have to decide what are our options for interacting, well, let's just say interfaces. All right. So what we'll do is, if you are using the Vercel AI SDK or LangChain or LangGraph or Crew AI, or you're using any of those frameworks, you can typically assign tools, which are just very simple function calls. And for a lot of the different AI frameworks out there, that's typically how you would do it. You would just create a function to perform a certain action, like inserting data into the database, and you would wrap that function in a tool, based on the actual framework's standards. You would just wrap that function in some kind of tool class or method and assign that to the agent. But what we're going to do instead is, and this is one of the limitations of using the Claude Agent SDK, is you can't actually assign tools. The recommended solution is to just create a little in-app MCP server and just assign the MCP server to the agent. The alternative is we could just define a skill, and that skill could tell the agent how to use the API endpoints that our app is going to expose as well. Hey, Lethal, I know the Anthropic rules are so vague. It's just all over the place. So the reason I think we're safe is I've seen some communication where so Boris had to kind of clarify what the rules were, because there's a lot of these harnesses that's like built around the Claude Code SDK. And it's things that's not necessarily 100% related to writing code, right? There's like these little developer utilities and personal projects that use it as well. And I don't even think Anthropic quite knows how to communicate it. I think they want to come across as being extremely strict, because I just get the feeling they'd rather sound like they're really strict on this to avoid people to abuse their tools. But they don't really care. If it's your personal little project, they're not going to ban you or kill off your project. I think harnesses or tools like OpenClaw is just kind of abusing their usage at this stage. All right, so that's what we'll do. We're actually going to expose all of the functionality using an MCP server. So we are actually covering a lot. I'm just trying to think if I missed anything. Now, because this is just a personal app that I'll run locally, I'm not going to worry about user authentication for this application. And yeah, so I'm actually not going to worry about user auth. Of course, if we want to take this to production, we can easily just add something like Better Auth into this app. So I'm not going to worry about authentication at all. for data persistence, since we're not deploying to production at this stage, I'm not going to worry about Postgres. A local SQLite database is going to be the easiest solution for us for now. And by the way, this is very common. If you are building a web application and you just really quickly want to get that idea out, you can use SQLite within the project folder. The challenge is when you try to move that project to production, like Vercel or Netlify or even a VPS. Sometimes SQLite isn't ideal. You will have to migrate to something like a Postgres database. But this is a very sort of common approach in software development where when we're testing an idea or we're trying to get an MVP out, we'll use a SQLite database. And once that works, we'll just migrate over to something that's a bit more production ready, like a Postgres database. Since this is just a little pet project, I'll go with SQLite. The cool thing about SQLite is it actually does include full text search, which we'll experiment with in this video. Let's spin up something on the side here. And by the way, this is my very first live stream on YouTube. So thanks to everyone who's here. It is quite nerve-wracking presenting to everyone. But this is my first live stream, so depending on how it goes, it might actually be my last. So Obsidian, FIO no code. Apologies if that's wrong. The reason so many people are talking about Obsidian is because Obsidian is sort of, even before the AI era, it was kind of known as a second brain. It's like Notion, but it runs on your own machine. So the data is just kind of localized and private, but it's obviously you can't invite teams and have, it's not as complex as Notion, but it is kind of an ideal way to just kind of dump information on your machine. And it has a little, like what do they call it? It's like a little node view that shows how the different data points connect to each other as well. So it kind of makes sense to just attach an AI agent to Obsidian to capture and recall the data for you. So instead of you manually doing it, you could just get an agent to interact with Obsidian on your behalf. That's really why it's so popular. Thanks, guys. It is fun. It is fun chatting to you. All right, so for this instance, we will not be using Obsidian. We do want to build our very own database. So it's kind of, Obsidian would kind of sit at this layer. That's it. So you would have Obsidian. I'll show if there's there we go. That's pretty much it. So Obsidian sits here, where like other creators are basically just using Obsidian as the database. Now, that's not what we want to do. We actually just want to build our very own solution. So that way we can migrate it to Postgres and we can deploy it. We can add user authentication. We could onboard multiple users. We could add payment integration. We could sell it, whatever. So this way we're building something that we own and we're not locked into Obsidian or any one specific vendor. All right then, I think this is cool. I think it's time that we actually just jump into the solution. So I am going to throw a slight curveball because I do want to keep things a little bit more interesting. And I'm trying to decide. I might use Claude Code for this, or I'm going to use Composer 2 in Cursor. I don't think the live stream is going to be that long, to be quite honest. This application is relatively simple. All right, so we'll decide on which agent we'll use in a second. I think let's actually just set up the basic project structure. So what I'm going to do is in the terminal, I'm just going to create a Next.js app. So we'll do create next app at latest. I'll just use the defaults. And just to be proactive, I do want to assign a skill. So I'll just grab the front end design skill from skills.sh, just so that our UI doesn't look like AI slop. So while Next.js is setting up, I'm just going to open up another terminal window. Let's run this command. And in fact, I'm just going to run it again. So I've already got Claude Code set up. I just want to see if there's anything related to cursor. I don't think there is. I think cursor simply looks at the agent.md file or the agents folder. So this should be cool. Let's install it. That command creates both folders. So we've got the .claude folder with the front end skill. We also have the agents folder, and this is basically what the other coding tools look at, like cursor. So we should be cool. And we've got Next.js set up. We can just run the dev server to see if everything works. And if I open up localhost 3000, we do get this Next.js boilerplate. Cool. So let's actually try Composer 2, just to see what happens. I'll go into planning mode. Hopefully my camera is not in the way. I might actually just let's see if I can. I'll just move it here for now. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. All right, so should I use Claude Code or should I use Composer 2? What do you guys want to see? You can just tell me in the chat. Claude Code or Composer 2? I'll give it a few more seconds. And by the way, for those of you who are voting for Claude Code, don't underestimate Composer 2. Trust me, it's phenomenal and it's really fast and cheap. All right, well, let's kick things off then. Let's try Claude Code. So I'm going to kick off Claude Code in YOLO mode. And let's do this. So I'll go into planning mode. I've got all the fundamentals set up. Actually, let's just set up a few more things in this project. Now, I think we can just dive into planning mode. So let's pass in just some of the details. Okay. I am going to use I'm going to use speech to text for this, just to speed things up a little bit. But effectively, I'm just going to kind of repeat the instructions. So I'll just put that to the side. And let's do this. Hey Claude, I need you to help me come up with an implementation plan for the following application. Now, here are a few core things to keep in mind. This application will only be run locally, and it's just for myself. So there's no need for user authentication, and for the database, we can just use something local like SQLite. Now, here are the requirements for the base application. We are building an AI second brain. This will help me to capture certain memories, and memories could include a wide range of different things. It could be simple text, it could be images, it could be files, it could even be links to YouTube videos. This app will use AI, and more specifically, we'll use the Claude Agent SDK as sort of the inference engine. So the primary interaction that the user will have with the application is by chatting to an AI agent. So this will use natural language to capture what needs to be stored, and the AI assistant should have the correct tooling to store this data, retrieve data, and search data. The AI assistant should also automatically tag any memories that we ask it to save. Users should not have to manually tag entries. It is really important that all data is persistent between sessions. If I close the dev server and open the application back up, all the data should simply still be there. Just some clarity on the AI-based functionality. We will be using the Claude Agent SDK with Opus 4.6 as the default model. As for user authentication, apologies, it's not user authentication. As for authenticating with Anthropic, the Agent SDK gives you two options. We can either authenticate using the Anthropic API key or the Claude Code OAuth token. I will be storing the Claude Code OAuth token in the environment variable file. All right then, I think we've almost covered everything. Right. Then in order to get the AI assistant to interact with the database, we will have to build an MCP server with all the required tools for the agent to interact with the database. Then finally, in order for this UI not to look like crap, I need you to use the front-end design skill to create something sleek and modern. The way I see it is that there should be a left sidebar that the user can use to instantly navigate between the different sections of the application. So this means that there should be a primary view, which is basically a chat interface with the agent. The agent should be able to respond in markdown format, which should be displayed correctly with any embedded artifacts like images, etc., and videos. We should also have easy access from the menu to view all the memories stored so far, with the capability of searching through the memories ourselves. Right, now here's an interesting one. For the main content, I do not want you to simply stack everything vertically. I hate that. Instead, the main content should always have a sidebar to the right containing any important widgets. All right, I think this is a lot of context. I am going to add one more thing to this, and that's just the Claude Agent SDK documentation. So let's add this. And this is something I do recommend everyone needs to do. It's just, just pass in any helpful documentation. So I'll just show you what I mean. The official Agent SDK docs do give us a lot of instructions on how to actually development, my tech lab. I think we're well past that point. We'll just play with Claude Code for now. We might switch over to Composer 2 a bit later just to kind of show it off a bit. So for context, I am just going to provide URLs to anything that might be important for this agent. So I'm going to paste this in. Then there is one more thing that I do want to pull up quick. And that is I just want to find a quick little article if you guys don't mind. So SQLite FTS5 is a virtual table module that provides high performance full text search capabilities within a SQLite database. So this is something I really do want to test out in this application. So this should give our agent the ability to perform like super fast searches. And full text search is also commonly used for like search engines. I mean, if you've ever used directory type websites like business directories or service search, service directories, those typically use full text search. So that someone can enter a very like a natural type of search query, and it will pull in results and kind of rank them by relevance. So that's how that basically works, is with full text search. So I'm just going to pull this in as well. Say for the SQLite database and improved search, I'm thinking of going with this. Simple. Right, and this is really the message I try to get across to people when I, even in the school community, in the classrooms, and in the live Q&A sessions that we do every Wednesday. This is something I preach all the time, is even if you think the requirement is simple and straightforward, don't just pass in vague information. Try to provide as much information as you can. And if you really don't know, spend a little bit of time outside of Claude Code or outside of Cursor to just kind of research potential solutions. I'm not saying that we're stuck on this tech stack either, right? We're going to pass this to the agent, and we're going to get the agent to maybe make recommendations or guide us in a different direction. So with that said, I like to provide a bit of context. This is really context engineering. And then I'm going to say, I do not want you to make any assumptions yourself. Please ask clarifying questions. I've also given my best effort to try and come up with a tech stack, but if you think I'm going down the wrong path, please point that out as well and help me brainstorm a solid solution. And let's run this. The live will be saved, yes. So it will be uploaded to YouTube afterwards. Patrick, it's really nice seeing you in the chat, man. Patrick is an absolute legend, guys. He's in the school community as well, and the stuff he comes up with is just insane. What an awesome builder. And thanks for everyone for being here and for contributing. This is my very first live stream on YouTube. Apart from Claude Code, what other alternatives do you find good? I've been switching between Claude Code and Codex quite a lot. With all the, I don't know, with the way that Claude has been dealing with usage lately, and I've just been burning through my usage really quickly on Claude Code. So I'm not sure if there's some issue with Anthropic, but it's stupidly, I don't know what's going on there. You know, I'm on the 20x plan, and I'll reach my limits within like 40 minutes. I don't know what's going on. On the flip side, Codex seems to be really generous. And I've got like the smallest plan there, and they just keep resetting my limits, and I don't know, they just, you know, I've been using GPT 5.4 a lot without hitting limits. So Codex has been awesome, and of course Cursor has been really good as well. The Composer 2 model is really it's a beast, and it's really cheap as well. I'm like on the smallest plan I have, and I really haven't hit any limits with it. It's just a very, very good model. Oh, don't know what I just did. Oh, Claude Code. What happened? Please try again. And that's also the thing with Claude Code. The CLI tool is all over the place. It just kind of fails and does funny things. How should uploaded files and images be stored? File system and DB paths. That's definitely the right approach. How should uploaded files and images be stored? Oh, where are we now? Oh my word. You know what? Let me just restart the terminal. Actually, let's just break out of the... Man, that's exactly why I don't know what's going on with Claude Code. Let's just spin it up in a terminal session rather. Resume. Please ask the questions again. I find that sometimes that running it in a terminal window is just a lot more stable. How should uploaded files be stored? How should chat conversations be persisted? We'll just do a multi-threaded, actually, yes, multi-thread. How deeply should YouTube link memories be captured? We'll just do metadata only. What search capability should the agent tool support? Full text search, tag filtering, semantic vectors. I don't know about this one. The problem with semantic search, vector search, is that we'll need a model that can actually do the embeddings. Yes, so we'll just skip that for now. because we'll need an embedding provider, which we don't have. Vision-based tagging for images. That's cool. And let's submit this. So Avo asked, when creating an MCP server, will we need to load all MCP each time we have a new session? So this is a sort of an MCP server that lives within the application itself. It's slightly different to the traditional MCP servers. The Claude Code documentation does a really good job of explaining how it works, but it's kind of, the MCP server is kind of created at runtime, and it's only available while the application server is up and running. But it does work the same way in principle as an MCP server, where it basically exposes tools to the agent that the agent can call. Jeff is asking, Leon, have you tried using Perplexity Computer? I actually haven't. Have you? What are your thoughts on it? What widgets do you want in the right sidebar? It says visible on every page. So I just really like including widgets on my applications. And you'll see what it means. It's just kind of a little sidebar to the right where you can show like relevant information. So I'll just select everything. Which file types should the app accept for upload? Images, PDFs, text, pretty much anything. Let's just go for it. Should you be able to edit, delete memories directly from the UI or only through the agent? I would say through the UI and agent. For the chat interface, should the agent's responses stream token by token? Yes. Go. I'll just switch back to planning mode. Perplexity Computer is better than OpenClaw in my opinion. I definitely need to try it out. I'm so sad. I really loved using OpenClaw. It's been fantastic. But I used it with my Claude subscription. I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay the API fees to use it. OpenClaw is really cool. I have started using Claude's Cowork a lot more as well. So I have migrated a lot of processes away from OpenClaw to Claude Cowork. And that seems to work really well, especially the dispatch feature and scheduling tasks. It's been phenomenal. Right, so I just wanted to answer the question on the MCP server a bit better. If we, just to show you an example of what this actually looks like. So custom tools in the Agent SDK are implemented as in-process MCP servers. There's no raw tool definition like the message API. Instead, you use the @tool decorator in Python or tool helper in TypeScript to wrap them in create SDK MCP server. And then, so here's what the pattern looks like. We actually get access to this, well, function or what is this? Yeah, so we actually get access to this function or this class where we can define a new create SDK MCP server. So this is all happening in code during runtime. And here we can provide all of the tools like save memory, and in there we can actually implement all of the code within this async function. So, technically this is what it's going to look like, but it's not an MCP server that, like the traditional servers that we're used to, that will have some kind of .mcp.json file, with the MCP configuration in here. It's not that. It's actually defined in code. Just before we instantiate the agent in the SDK, we're going to create this, very specific object, this guy over here, and that's what we're going to pass to the agent to access the tooling. OpenClaw works perfectly with your ChatGPT subscription. I've been running mine for close to 2 months now, no problem. That's the other thing that I was considering. Since I am using Codex and I do have a ChatGPT subscription, it might be better just to move everything over to OpenAI. What model are you using on OpenAI? Is it GPT 5.4? All right, so while Claude is cooking on while Claude is actually working on the implementation plan, I am just going to set something up that's going to save us a little bit of time. And that is, I'm just going to create a new sub-agent. In fact, I'm not sure if I should create it or just copy it across actually. Maybe just copy it over. So I do have this repository. If you guys are interested, it's public. You can use it as you wish. This already includes a few useful agents. So in the Claude folder, I'm just going to pull in my coder sub-agent. And yeah, let's just do that. So back in Claude, let's create a new subfolder called agents. And I'll just call this guy coder.md. And we'll just paste in that file. It's very simple. So this agent is called coder. There's some description here to tell us to just instruct when to use this agent. And this is using Opus as the driving model. And the color is just orange. It's just a sort of a prompt that says that, well, you've got 20 years experience as a software engineer, and it needs to be really, just write high quality code. You guys are more than welcome to use this in your projects. And the reason we're setting that up is once the implementation plan is ready, we're going to ask Claude to spin up sub-agents and to get those sub-agents to work on the solution and not to try and implement all of it itself. If the main agent is making all of the changes, it's kind of a bottleneck. It means you've got a single developer effectively, trying to do everything. So it's going to be really slow. where instead we're going to instruct the main agent to behave like a kind of a project manager and figure out what tasks can be implemented in parallel, and then get sub agents, so sub coding agents to run in parallel and to implement everything at the same time. So it's just going to speed things up a bit. Started playing with the Hermes agent 2 days ago, and I have to say, so far it's superior in every way in terms of the way I'm using OpenClaw. All right, that's really cool. Okay, Jeff is saying, I like Claude much better than GPT. Claude agents work more with you. GPT agents seem to question everything I want. Just my opinion. Yeah, that's not a great experience. That definitely is a strength of the Claude models. They feel really fun to work with. They're very conversational and they come across as really supportive, which I guess can be a bad thing as well. I'm not always a fan of it, always just kind of agreeing with what I have to say. So I'll sometimes even prompt Claude to behave like a coach that provides like brutal, like honest feedback. Instead of being instead of agreeing to everything, it needs to kind of, push back a bit more and challenge my thinking. So for those of you watching, if you could do me a massive favor and maybe just hit the like button below the video. This is my very first live stream, so I would like to give the algorithm some positive signals. So if you are enjoying this, or you want me to create more lives or do more live streams in the future, please hit the like button. Just keeping an eye on my Claude subscription or usage. We're still good. Okay, Lethal said the OpenAI cloud computer agents are insane. They can code for hours and deliver full apps fast, but expensive. Oh, that's cool. How was your experience so far with your first live stream? Funny enough, I was nervous going into it, but I think you guys are just making it so much fun. I do love the back and forth and getting feedback from you guys. I do really enjoy it. Yaku Mankies, ZA. So cool to have found a South African that's creating some proper and super helpful AI coding content. Thanks, Dion. You rock, man. No, you rock. Thanks, Yaku. Right, Jeff is saying, I can say today that I just want to keep an eye on the plan. I can say today has clear skies and GPT will question it. Then I can to reverse and say the skies show rain, it will disagree with that. Using GPT is annoying. So something I like about Composer though is the model has no personality. So for those of you who actually haven't seen it, in Cursor's own model, Composer 2, although I think it's based on Kimi, is it based on Kimi 3.5 or something? Either way, it's a really cool model, but it's got no personality. So it really doesn't care. It's just going to build whatever you ask it to build. It won't agree or disagree. It will just do whatever. Hey, Srini, welcome, man. What a nice surprise. We've got a few people from the school community in the chat. This is really cool. Welcome. Thank you, Corey. Thanks, Corey. Much appreciated. Srini has been doing some really cool stuff in the AI space. He's been building solutions and getting clients. Phenomenal work, dude. This recording will definitely go up. It's so for those of you who just joined now, let me just give you a little bit of context on what's going on here. So, and I'm not trying to sell anything to anyone. This is just for fun. We've got a school community. And what we do in the school community is every Monday we post a new weekly challenge. So the idea is that on Mondays we release a challenge that's relevant to what's going on in the industry, and it's kind of a way to try and challenge you, to push you, to say, look, you might feel that you're comfortable building AI solutions, but you kind of need some inspiration or something that challenges your skills a little bit. So we post these challenges every Monday. It's not too specific on what needs to be done. The idea is to leave it open-ended enough so that people who are new to this could build whatever they feel comfortable with, and very experienced developers can, push this to the next level. And some of the guys in this chat are phenomenal at the stuff they build. It's just insane. But for this week's challenge, we asked the community to build their own AI second brain with just a few requirements. So the format could be anything they want. It can be a CLI tool, a web app, a desktop app. It could be anything. The idea is that you can ask your assistant to save different memories. And this could be anything. It could be text, it could be images, files, YouTube videos, whatever. And I just want to make sure we're not blocking this process. Sorry about that. I'll get back to the requirements in a second. I just quickly want to have a look at this plan. All right, you want a local only single user second brain. It's a Claude Power agent, yes. Okay. Okay, file storage is a file system. Conversations are multi-threaded. YouTube, search, right sidebar. Streaming, yes. Auth is going to be Google. We're going to use Claude Code OAuth for this. And for the model, we'll go with Opus 4.6. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and say cook. So now we have a few options. So we can obviously ask Claude to make any changes to the plan. But in order to clear the context window, I am going to say yes and bypass permissions. This is instantly going to go into editing mode, right? So the agent is going to try and make any changes. But that's not really what we want to do. Let me know when you're ready to start building and which phases to tackle first. Okay, perfect. So Claude actually stopped itself because it realized this application is actually quite large. So what I'm going to do is just exit for a quick seckie. Then I'm going to go back into Claude Code, and that is just to pull in the agent, the sub agent that we just created, this coder agent. All right, so it is there now. Now I'm going to resume our conversation, and now I'm going to give very specific instructions. What I don't want is for this main agent to try and do all of its work itself. That's like having a single developer team, and that developer is going to become the bottleneck. You know, this poor guy is going to try and implement everything from the top down, and it's just going to take forever. And since we've got a 1 million token context window, I'm not too worried about hitting the context window itself, the context window limit, but I am worried about time. You know, so I don't want to sit here waiting for one agent to do everything. Instead, what we can do is ask this agent to be sort of a project manager and to spin up background agents to run in parallel to implement all of this. So this is what we're going to do. All right, so I need you, well, actually first, let's just do this. Now we can go ahead. All right, I want you to continue with this implementation. Now, I don't want you to implement one phase at a time or one task at a time. I need you to run through the entire process from start to finish. But instead of you doing all of the work yourself, I need you to act as a project manager or an orchestrator. Look at the requirement as a whole, then determine all the different tasks and phases that can be implemented in parallel. So by doing so, identify all the different waves that can be implemented at the same time in parallel. Then kick off a background coding agent to implement each of those phases. We're trying to optimize our time here, so feel free to kick off as many coding agents as you need. Right, that looks sexy enough. Let's send this. So how are you guys all doing? Are you enjoying your long weekend? Are you celebrating Easter? So Corey says it might be a good time to mention the superpowers repo that has a sub-agent based development skill. Just my 2 cents. So you're referring to this guy over here, I think. Superpowers. It's got over 136,000 stars. This really is a very good skill. It is awesome. I try... So... You know, for videos like this, I try to kind of explain the why and not just use tools for everything. You know, I could simply just install skills to do pretty much everything, but you are right. You know, once you're comfortable working with, you know, sub-agents and you understand it, by all means, you know, the superpower skill is really cool. Yaniv. Leon, thank you very much. Happy to be here, and I really like the channel. Thanks, man. Srini, I'm spending lots and lots of time with my kids. Good. I'm glad to hear you're not just working all the time. Went to the movies, doing movie nights. Sounds like fun. Have you guys watched any good movies recently? Thanks, Corey. Patrick, what are movies? I take it you don't have time for movies. Don't worry, Patrick, it's not just you. I find myself in the same situation. Although I am trying to find a little bit more of a work-life balance recently. So superpowers is a really cool skill for this, but I wanted to ask you guys something. So if chat can maybe tell me what you think about this. Have have you guys used Agent Teams before? Claude Agent Teams. It's an experimental feature. So you enable it just by passing this little parameter. So let's just pull up the project. So all you do is in the Claude folder, you just create your settings.json file. And then you paste in this. Oops. No, man. I think it's something like, what am I doing? We do have an example down here. There we go. So you just kind of paste in this flag, and then that enables the ability for you to create agent teams within the project. And can I just get back to it? It basically allows you to create, well, like there's the difference between sub-agents and agent teams. So with sub-agents, your main agent will call the sub-agents as, sort of background tasks. So, each sub-agent will kind of run in its own little instance, and then it will do whatever work it needs to do, and then it reports back to the main agent just with a basic, summary of what it did. But these sub-agents are running, sort of in their own isolated bubble. They've got no way to communicate with each other. Where with agent teams, the main agent will create this shared task list. Let me see, is this behind my head? So with agent teams, the main agent will create a shared task list, and it then kicks off separate Claude Code instances. So these are proper Claude Code sessions. And these can actually talk to each other. So it's kind of like bringing a whole team of people into a room and letting them, you can kind of have your to-do list on a whiteboard, and they will work together to solve the to-do list, to build the application. So, for example, your database agent could define the schema and very quickly, provide that schema to the API agent. And that API agent will know exactly how to use that schema. Where in this instance, this database sub-agent might not be aligned to what the API agent expects or the front-end agent expects, etc. So there could be a lot of failure and back and forth in this instance. But this does burn a lot more tokens. But I'm just curious, have you guys actually tried it? What do you think? Hey Amar, just joined. Did you type that prompt or have a shortcut for something like that? Looks like a very reusable prompt. Oh, are you referring to this prompt over here to kick off the developers? This could very well be a reusable custom prompt, but I actually just typed it out or used speech to text in this session. But definitely, this could be a reusable custom prompt. Ivan, these live sessions, gold is not what you show, but people who can ask right questions or share their experience or examples. Exactly why I'm doing it. The idea is to have a bit of a back and forth with you guys and to share ideas. So you can get a view of my typical workflow, but the idea really is for you guys to ask questions or to maybe point out things that would help with a scenario like this. It's not just about the application that we're building, it's also an opportunity to learn these types of workflows. Hey Patrick, busy building master agent and sub-agent workers in Cursor. Not used Claude Teams yet. Cursor is really good at dealing with sub-agents. They've really come a long way with their sub-agent implementation. It's super cool. Amar, this works 50% of the time, not that reliable. I'd recommend my Claude Code. It does a better job. It is experimental though, so I do think Anthropic is keeping an eye on it. Hopefully it will improve. Lethal, I love using sub-agents in Cursor and Claude. Sub-agents is definitely the way to go. It's a skill that you have to learn. Yakubankies, Claude Code does seem pretty slow today. It's probably because thinking with high effort has been selected. Claude Code has just been very slow in general for me, and I think for a lot of people. But I am on high reasoning. It's going to speed up in a second though. The main agent is just kind of kicking off all the coder agents at the moment, so this is going to pick up speed really quickly. Once these sub agents kick in, it's going to fly. Real Gabriel, hey, love from Brazil. Lots of love from South Africa as well. Welcome. You are the best. No, you are the best. Thank you for joining the live stream. It's my first live stream, by the way, so thank you guys for joining. I was really expecting maybe one person to be here. So thank you. It's a lot of fun. Codex uses a different format for sub-agents. Uses Tamil as opposed to MD. I didn't know that. I just assumed it's all Markdown. That's interesting. Wow. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it, man. So I suspect wave 0 will take a while because the agent is just kind of setting up all the project dependencies. So it's installing dependencies and just kind of setting up the basic layout. Why can't I expand this? So we should see a lot of new components come in. Pigu 2010, Hi Leon, I Caesar from Argentina. You are a guide for us, very useful. This video, I learned so much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I love covering this stuff. I love talking about building with AI. I do enjoy it. So thank you so much, man. What's your opinion on spec-driven development? Do you see it as a way forward in using these tools, or is it a necessary overhead for the models? I use spec-driven development on pretty much any serious project that I build. It's actually a part of my agentic coding masterclass. It's a part of the agentic coding starter kit that I have. One thing I would mention though is I've tried BMAT, I've tried, what are they all called? I've tried BMAT, I've tried Get Shit Done, I've tried, Spec Kit. I've been through them all, but I personally feel that they take up way too much time. That initial planning phase, it just takes way too long to get to the actual result. So I've kind of just created my own custom version of it, which just takes you through the setup process in 1 or 2 questions. It's just to get the basics out there. And then, so here's the thing, and you guys can let me know what your experience is and if you agree with me or not. But when I build an application, usually if it's a greenfield project, so it's a new blank folder, and the app that I'm trying to build is too complex for a single prompt. The thing is, you can't just build the entire application in a single prompt or in a single Claude session. It's going to maybe take hours to implement, and it could be hundreds of features involved. So that the only way to really work around that was to say, fine, let's take that massive plan, that massive implementation plan, and let's break it up into phases. And in each phase, we would have individual features or tasks that need to be implemented. That way, we can then ask the coding agent to implement phase 1. And once that's done and tested, we can move on to the next phase. And we'll just repeat that process until we're done. So all of these spec-driven solutions are trying to kind of solve that problem. It's to take the user's idea and convert that into documents, or a whole bunch of documents that detail the solution, and it details all the features and dependencies and everything that needs to be built throughout multiple sessions with the coding agents until it's done. It's the same way things like AutoForge works. That's an app that I built as well. It's a long-running harness where you give a massive requirement, it breaks it up into features, and then the agents just run on autopilot. And sometimes it can take days or even a week before the app is done. And that's when it's actually running like 24/7. But once you have that sort of MVP out the door, you ideally want to give very specific instructions, like fix this, change that. You kind of want to give very clear direction on what needs to happen. It's very unlikely that the very first result that you get out of that framework is going to be perfect in any case. So I personally don't see the value of spending 5 hours sitting with BMAT, discussing the requirements, going through brainstorming. The agent just wastes so much time before finally giving me those files that I have to implement. To me, it just feels like a waste of time. I'd rather, keep it simple initially, get a very basic piece of software out, and then extend on top of it with very specific instructions. I think with the era of agentic coding, you don't have to spend so much planning up front. Code is cheap now. If you don't like what the agent produced, delete it and start over. It costs you nothing. So I would just say iterate fast. Don't bother spending so much time up front. I personally haven't seen much value in some of these frameworks. Amar, yeah, one time I used GSD. It took me 20 minutes of questions and answerings, and then it took another 40 minutes to execute. It didn't even get it right. It wasn't even close. Exactly. I would rather start off with something very simple and then just iterate on it. All right, Yaku. Leon, just out of curiosity, while waiting for Claude, what's your take on Convex as a database? It's really cool. It is a very fun database. Years ago, I used Firebase, Firestore and those types of real-time databases a lot. And Convex feels really close to what Firebase gave us back then. It's really fast. If you're building a real-time application, like a chat app or a game, it's really good at dealing with real-time changes. It's phenomenal. It is a really cool project. Realistically, I haven't really seen it being used in production much. So, I tend to steer people to things that aren't stable yet. Postgres has been around for a very long time. It's used in production by large companies. So realistically, I try to avoid things that's not tested. But yeah, Convex is really great for real-time applications. Lethal, thank you for hitting the like button. Guys, if you don't mind, it will really help me out if you can hit the like button, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed before. Curve, when using these sub-agents, I have to manually approve every action before they can proceed. What am I missing? Am I a novice bloke? 61 years old. Love your channel, learned a lot. I think you might just be running the the Claude CLI in the wrong permissions mode, you'll notice on my screen that I've actually got bypass permissions on. So what you can do when you start Claude, let me actually just exit out of Claude Code for a second so I can show you. When you start Claude normally, you can press Shift and Tab to cycle between the different modes. So if you don't see anything down here, it means that you're in Ask Permissions mode. So before the agent makes any changes, it's first going to ask your permission to do so. If you're in planning mode, it won't change anything at all. It's only there to brainstorm ideas with you and to come up with an implementation plan. And in Accept Edits mode, the agent will make changes to files, but it will still ask you permission for certain actions, like running certain commands. Now, if you don't want it to ask your permission at all, what you can do is run Claude, but with this what do they call it? With this flag. So it's, oops, let me just close this. It's -- dangerously skip permissions. When you run it in this mode, you'll see that bypass permissions. So the sub agents and your main agent will run without ever stopping to ask your permission. Hey, real Gabriel, yes, the session will be recorded. After I'm done, it should be uploaded to YouTube automatically. Oh, now we're flying. So, not sure if you guys can see this, but at the bottom it says there's now 5 agents running at the same time. So we've got 5 coding agents cooking away at this. So, different agents for different things. Right. And the cool thing is the main agent, the context window for the main agent stays relatively lean. We're just waiting for each of these sub agents have their own context windows. So, they'll read in files, they'll explore, they'll make changes, they'll do what they need to do. And once they're done, they're just going to give a short little report back to the main agent to say, this is what I did. And it's not massive. It's not giving that entire context window back. So the main agent stays lean and very focused. All 7 Wave 1 agents are now running in parallel. So we've actually got 7 agents. And here's the status for each of these. Wonderful. What I did to make 7 parallel agents safe. Each agent owns a strictly disjoint set of files. No 2 agents write to the same file. That's awesome. That's what we want. Okay. And now the main agent will notify us as these agents complete. And at the bottom, we can see that we have 6 agents running in parallel. This is going to fly, guys. It's going to fly. There is one piece of work I need to do. So for inference, we are using the Claude Agent SDK. And we just have to authenticate ourselves. So we do need a .env file. Excuse me. And in this file, we need to set either the Anthropic API key. I'm just going to disable this autocomplete. It is really, I don't even know where to do that. So we can either set the Anthropic API key or the Claude Code OAuth token. So I'm actually going to use the Claude Code OAuth token. So I will use my Claude Code subscription for inference, but which should be safe. My understanding, based on what Boris posted on X lately, is that we are allowed to use the our Claude subscription as long as we use the Claude Agent SDK. And this is a personal project running on my machine. So my understanding is that it's safe. If you are worried, you can definitely use the Anthropic API key. I am going to populate this off screen as well for obvious reasons. So I'm just going to move this aside just for a second. I'm just creating the Claude I guess I can show this step to you guys. So all I'm really doing is I'm just trying to get that key. So I'm trying to populate this Claude Code OAuth token in the env file. So to do that, we do have to generate a Claude OAuth token. So I'm just running Claude setup token. That's it. So if I run this, it's going to open up my browser, and I just need to authenticate myself. All right. Sorry for the silence. I'm just trying to get this auth key set up. And that should be safe. Cool. Maybe we can show it like this. That's cool. Okay, curve. I'm running in that dangerous mode, but maybe it's more RFDM. Yeah, that is strange. I would definitely expect the sub agents to be auto approved as well. That is odd. Karim. Hi Leon, do you use anti-gravity, Claude Code, Cursor? How do anti-gravity, Claude Code, and Cursor differ in terms of use cases? Are they essentially the same, or does each one excel in specific areas? That is a really cool question. And I actually forgot to mention anti-gravity earlier. It is one of the tools I like to use. More so because I do not have a Gemini subscription, but the Gemini models, you actually get free usage on anti-gravity. So you do get this, they've got a free tier. So it's a very cool way to just get some free inference now and again. But anti-gravity is similar to Cursor. It's very similar to VS Code. Anti-gravity is just a fork of VS Code. So they do look and feel very similar, and they've got the same capabilities. Well, we just have 4 agents left. Now we just have 3 left. Right, cool. Only 2 agents left. It makes such a difference. Just to kick off these multiple coding agents to work in parallel. It just saves so much time. Are you guys enjoying this live stream as well? I would love to do more of these. They really are a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Come on, agents. We're almost there. Working with sub agents is pretty much the, just kind of using this process is going to be the closest you'll get to having a long running harness running within Claude Code. Just one more agent to go. Thanks, guys. All right, so let's see. Agents 1C done. The trickiest one, critical findings after reading the real SDK source. All right. OAuth token, pass explicitly, yes. All 8 MCP tools verified with real. Okay, agents still waiting for 1F. Almost done. So Alex asked, do you have a favorite non-SOTA model? So non-Claude, non-OpenAI. I actually mentioned it a few times in this video. I'm not sure if it's considered one of the state-of-the-art models. I don't really know. But I've been really impressed with... Oops, what am I doing? Let's see if I can pull this guy back in. I have been really impressed by Composer 2 from Cursor. It's really, really impressive. And it's really fast. Honestly, it would have implemented this entire implementation plan in like, I don't know, a third of the time. Claude Code is really slow. Hey Jeff, thank you. The best part of this video, it shows a real life example, a real life environment. This is valuable to many people. A lethal, I believe it is based on Kimi. It's obviously a custom trained model on top of Kimi, but yes. Which makes sense because Cursor's got a lot of data coming through it. It's like they do train their models based on your usage of Cursor. They've got the training data. It just made sense. Alex, have you tried Xiaomi Mimo or Qwen 3.6? I've tried Qwen 3.6, really cool. I haven't tried Xiaomi's model, Mimo. I haven't tried it. Is it available on, how can you access it? Is it available on Olama? So having a look here, Xiaomi, it's got vision. I'm not sure if this is their official upload though. Right, I do love this. So this coder agent is actually doing smoke tests as well. So it should just give us a little bit more of a robust solution. The best Xiaomi model is the Mimo V2 Pro. I'm accessing it through Open Code. All right. I'll definitely check it out. Xiaomi is actually a really impressive tech company. I do like their products. Okay, integrating and verifying all waves. Beautiful. So I'm just going to do a shameful plug, if you guys don't mind. So if you do want to see how I build solutions using AI agents, I do have a community, and my intent has never been to rip people off at all. It's stupidly cheap compared to what other people are charging. It's only $7 a month, and this does give you access to. I actually just have to set up this month's Q&A sessions, but we do have live Q&A sessions every Wednesday. So you can join, it's like a Zoom call. You can unmute yourself, you can join, you can chat to me, you can ask questions. If you get stuck on something or you just want to share something, it's totally fine. You know, it's really a fun session. I love the conversations that come out of it. It's such a good community, people. It's a good mix as well, because we've got like junior developers, we've got vibe coders who never touched a line of code in their life. They don't understand the tech stack, they don't really care. They just want to build something that they can sell. So we've got like AI builders who just want to make money out of it. And then we've got people on the other side of the spectrum who's like hard code devies. And they've been coding for like, 20 or 30 years. And they're trying to pull agents into their workflows as well. So the mix of people in the community are really just incredible. It's really a lot of fun. Then we've got these weekly challenges, and this entire live stream is based on one of the challenges. Every Monday there's a new challenge. This week's challenge was to build an AI second brain. So that's what we're trying to build in this live stream now. And you can always go back and view the previous live streams. So within the lab classroom, you can go back and view the previous challenges as well. Or, we've got courses on Claude Code and, these different tools as well. And yeah, like with the weekly Q&A sessions, we record all of those. You can go back, you can go and binge watch them. They're all available there as well. So it is a lot of fun. And I'm also, and I guess this is the first time I'm mentioning it publicly as well, but there are a few people in the community in this chat as well. So I've just released the first few videos of my Agentic Coding Masterclass. So this is a complete course on building with agents. And it goes through everything, the core concepts and understanding how these things work, the basics in terms of using agents, the basic concepts, which tools are right for you. So one of the questions someone just asked in the chat now is how do these different tools compare and how do you choose what's right for you? Working with agents, like when should you intervene as a human? How to deal with multi-file projects, testing and debugging issues, rate limits. We've got spec-driven development in here. We've got advanced patterns. We've got a project that we'll go through together as well. So like I mentioned, the first few videos are actually available. And yeah, you can actually follow along. And another cool thing is it's all interactive. So we've got this little platform where you can dive in and actually play with it. Like one of the videos are about what are tokens. So this actually, gives you something to play with, and you can visualize how this all works. And it explains to you how these LLMs actually perceive tokens and why this matters. This drives costs. We all play with these coding agents, and we complain that our usage runs out super quickly, we don't get it, and that's pretty much why. We can even see how LLMs actually predict the next tokens, so how token prediction works. It's all there. So it's a really fun community, really cool masterclass. All right, all 7 Wave 1 agents completed. Launching Wave 2, integration agents now. It needs to run, resolve contract mismatches from parallel, right? So without stopping this, I do want to ask the agent how many phases are left without having to interrupt the session. So all I'm going to do is press / and by the way. Now I can ask anything. Like, we've been at it for a while, but it seems like phase 1, it actually just stopped. Hold on, let's see. All waves completed. All right, so phase 2 was actually just the final wave. So no, let's not even do that. We should now be ready to test the app. So let's run pnpm, run dev. Let's open up localhost, and let's have a look at our app. All right. I think this looks really cool. So the UI looks beautiful. I think this looks really cool. We've got our chat interface on the left. We've got memories, tags, it's all there. And remember when I sort of gave that instruction on designing the UI, I mentioned it shouldn't stack everything on top of each other. And that is why when you give Claude Code that instruction, or any agent, if you give it that instruction not to stack stuff on top of each other and to use a sidebar with widgets, you'll always end up with something like this. So the main content, obviously you've got your main content over here, but now we also have this sidebar to the right with these widgets. That can be really useful. So if you ever experience that issue where the UI is just like this massively long page of stuff, it's not very user-friendly, that's what you do. Just tell it not to stack stuff on top of each other, create a sidebar with widgets. And then you end up with something just a little bit more useful. So let's maybe grab a, I don't know, let's do something like, what can we try? What can we try? Leon's, I don't know, Leon's school, I don't know, community is called Agentic Labs. All right, save with AI, captured. Okay. So if we have a look at this, our school community is called Agentic Labs. But I would like to see if the AI solution actually works. Let's say, hey, invalid environment configuration. Claude Code auth token. Claude Code auth token must not be empty. And it's missing in this env.local file. All right, so I'm not going to show everything on screen for obvious reasons. But what the agent did is it created this env.local file. And now it's giving us this blank variable. I'm actually going to, I can actually remove this file. We've already stored the variable in this .env file. So I'm just going to restart the server. All right, let's do this. Hey. All right, something is happening. And we do get the stream back from the agent, so it means Claude is actually hooked up. We are getting the response streaming from our agent, so this is cool. We are getting a few error messages on the MCP tools. Claude's requesting permission to use MCP. Oh, that's perfectly fine, and this is really cool. So in the Claude Code SDK, when you assign tools, you actually have to provide very specific permissions to tell it what tools it's allowed to use. It doesn't have access to everything by default. So let's just say, and now we can actually just hide this. Let's put our session side by side with the actual app, wherever it might be. Oh man, this guy. Okay. Let's just say. So, by the way, what we could do, and something that I do like to do from time to time, is to assign either the Playwright MCP server or the Playwright, the Playwright CLI tool, just to get the agent to open the browser and test this itself. But we can just let it know that there's some issues. All right, so I'm testing the app now, but I noticed that whenever the agent tries to interact with the MCP tools, it runs into these permission issues. Please can you ensure that the agent has permissions to use all of the MCP tools? Oop, wrong place. Let's just move it this side. And let's just grab this as well. And let's send it. Hey Jeff, you're definitely welcome in the community, man. We'd love to see you there. All right then. So while that's cooking, we can just have a look at this app still. I mean, everything is responsive as well. So if we make this a little bit more narrow, it all just works. Just looks really cool. I think if we go into mobile view, we do lose this context window or this sidebar on the right though. So I'll just keep it open in a separate window. That's fine. Right, and that's really all Claude is doing. So it's just giving permissions to that MCP server. And everything should actually work already. So let's just refresh this. I've just updated your permissions. Please, can you try again? Let's send this. All right, it's still giving failures. I think we just have to, yeah, it's still failing. I think we just have to restart the dev server. So let's just do this. Oops. Right, let's refresh. All right, I've just restarted the dev server. Please try again. Now it's working. Look at that. Right, so we can see the actual tool calls. We're in business, saved as Leon's School Community, Agentic Labs with tags. What else can I help with? Well, let's grab something totally random. Let's just go to YouTube.
What exactly is Claude?
And for funsies, I'll just grab one of my videos. And it's say, please store this video. And let's send this. All right, so it's called the tool to fetch YouTube metadata. We'll see if it's actually able to pull in the title and all of that. And okay, I must admit, I'm actually really impressed that worked. Saved as the only Claude tutorial you need. So it was able to pull in the database, the metadata, and all I passed was the URL. So that is really cool. With tags, video, YouTube, Claude tutorial, yeah, that's really cool. And on the right-hand side, we can definitely see all of the different memories. And if we go to this tab, we can see the memories. And I do like that. So it even shows the actual thumbnail as well. So that is so cool. If we go to tags, we can see all the different tags. And let's just start a new conversation. And of course, that doesn't work. Let's just see when I start a new conversation. Let's close this. All right, that's close. So the MCP tools are working now, but I noticed that when I try to create a new conversation, I get a message saying something like page not found. That is correct, right? Yes, page not found. Okay, let's send this. But so far it's looking really cool. I think we're almost done. And I do like that we have this quick capture section on the right hand side. So maybe we can ask it a question like, what are my what is the last memory that I shared? Well, I think that's just going to save actually. I guess that's not a chat window. All right, whatever. That didn't really do what I hoped it would do. But I would probably swap this out for like a quick chat window as well. So if I just wanted to do like a once-off question, it might be useful for that. All right, apparently this is fixed. So let's try to create a new conversation. That looks way better. And let's say, please remember that mom's birthday is on Thursday. And that should work as well. Awesome, that's perfect. All right then, so I think that's it. We actually build our own second brain. And I do like the fact that it's able to like show, images and include videos. I guess this is even an embedded video. But this is really, really cool. So that is how I would go about building a second brain. If you want to take this to production, what you can do is simply convert the SQLite database to a Postgres database. And, well, in fact, before we wrap this up, let's just ask it, can you list the last 2 memories that I added? We didn't test the retrieve functionality, so let's do that first. So it's using the MCP tool to retrieve the latest memories, and these were indeed the last 2 memories. Please can you return, no, let's not cheat it, let's create a new session. Please return any YouTube videos that I saved related to Claude Code. Okay, let's do that. This would be a useful use case. And there we go. So it's able to recall that information as well. And that's why these second brains are so helpful. So if you wanted to move this to production, you can just tell Claude Code to swap out your SQLite database with a Postgres database. And I would probably add user authentication to this as well. So I would just include better auth into the solution. And I would, just go through that. I've got plenty of videos on my channel showing exactly how to build applications with user authentication. So I would just kind of add that, and instead of using my Claude Code OAuth token, I would just get people to bring their own API keys. So they can bring their own Anthropic API key, and that's securely stored against their accounts. So this was my very first live stream. I'm so grateful for everyone who was able to attend, and thank you so much for the interaction and being awesome. And I was nervous going into this, but I must admit this was so much fun, and it's all because of you guys. Thank you so much. I do want to do more of these live streams going forward. So I'll see you in the next live stream or in the next video or in my school community. Thank you guys for watching. Then I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.